Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all already know who this is. This is Ron the freaking Don. And today, I want to speak about my favorite topic in politics. My favorite topic of economic policy. Something that the Kamala Harris campaign tried to run away from throughout since the beginning of the campaign. Discussion about economic policy. And now she's forced to speak about her policies now that Trump has poked holes in the foundation of her political campaign, which is her being a black woman in identity politics. He poked holes in it maybe 2 weeks ago at the Black Journalists Association conference out in Chicago. He poked holes in it during that interview with the journalists, and now the foundation of her campaign has been tampered with by Trump. So now she's forced to speak about her policies and her vision for the country, something she has none of. The reason why I say that is because at a rally in Las Vegas this weekend, she has copied and pasted Trump's idea of no tax on tips. Only difference is she worded it differently by saying the elimination of taxes on tips for workers in the service and tourism industry, which is fundamentally the same exact thing as Trump said, but she worded it differently. Excuse me. And that's the thing about the Democrats. The Democrats like to play all these word games, mind games with you, like to use all these verbal gymnastics to play with your mind, saying, oh, this policy is different, when the basis of the policy is the same exact thing as a Republican policy, but they just word it different and say, oh, it's different because they word it different. But the basis of the policy is still exactly the same thing. And now, it's funny that Kamala Harris says that because during the Inflation Reduction Act, in the bill, it entails a special tips program that authorizes workers to report tips, which means they would have to pay taxes on them. So that's what the Inflation Reduction Act entails. That's one of the provisions inside the Inflation Reduction Act that they passed back in 2022. So therefore, Kamala Harris and the Biden administration raised your taxes. Not on the rich though. God forbid they raise taxes on the rich. They raise taxes on the working class. See, whenever a Democrat says raise taxes on the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich, what they really mean is tax the poor, tax the poor, tax the working class, tax the working class. The working class is pretty much the poor, and there's no such thing as the middle class no more. The days of the 80s and 90s during the Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, and maybe even Bush years, those days left when Obama became the president and bailed out the banks. Since then, since 2009, 2010, when Obama bailed out the banks and gave them additional funding on top of what the Federal Reserve quantitative easing program, in addition to what the Federal Reserve gave the banks, Obama gave them more. Obama gave them additional money with the stimulus package and the bailout package. So the middle class already evaporated during the Obama years. So it's no more middle class. It's just rich and the working poor. Rich, I guess working class, working poor, same thing. It's just pretty much rich and poor, pretty much. But that's what the Democrats really mean by tax the rich is tax the poor, because the rich is always going to find a way to divert taxes. The corporations and the rich don't pay taxes. They divert taxes. The taxes get diverted to the poor, and through little corporate loopholes that their professional accountants and corporate lawyers find whenever they pay taxes. Just so y'all know. So Democrats like to play all these word games and foolery to play with your mind when fundamentally what they propose is exactly the same thing. If they just word it different, and it's just in a different way. Just instead of getting taxed the front end, get the back end. Basically, that's all it is. So that's the basis of it. But yeah, Kamala Harris. But back to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris doesn't have any true policies to stand on. That's why she copied and pasted Trump's idea of no tax on tips. And also the media is trying to label her as a moderate when she previously had very, very progressive liberal positions back in 2019 during the hype of all the Bernie Sanders wave. The Feel the Burn. That campaign had a lot of millennials and Gen Z supporters. So I guess during the Democratic Party was riding that wave, and she decided to partake in that as well. So I guess that's the reason why in 2019 she wanted to defund ICE, or why she wanted to ban fracking, or why she wanted to defund the police. All those policies turned out to be a disaster. There's some progressive policies that are good. Those just aren't the ones. Because those policies cause inflation. Those policies are a catalyst to inflation, which is why we're paying higher taxes now, and why inflation is nearly at 20%. The highest it's been since the 70s. So, yeah, progressive positions that Tim Walz, her VP pick, had out in Minnesota of tax rebates for the middle class, for working class people making under $80,000, and free college tuition for lower income students at select schools, and free breakfast and lunch for school children. Those are good progressive policies. And maybe raising the minimum wage a little bit, or maybe the unlimited bans on abortion, depending on how you look at it. That could be a good progressive policy, but of course, conservatives may not like it. Some moderates may not care for it, but it all depends on how you look at it. But I guess that policy, it plays towards the progressive base. So I guess with the addition of Tim Walz, she tried to add she tried to tap into that progressive base. But however, Kamala Harris, is she even a progressive, or is she a moderate? The thing about that is nobody knows what Kamala Harris is. Is she a progressive? Is she a moderate? Nobody knows what she is. Why is that? because she don't have any real policy positions that she stand for. She don't stand for anything. Her whole campaign is based on identity politics and her being a black woman. So nobody knows whether she's a progressive, she's a conservative, or she's a moderate. She's definitely not a conservative. She's definitely not a libertarian, but nobody knows whether she's a progressive or a moderate because she don't have any foundation no type of foundation or any type of theme that she stands on in particular. Like Bernie Sanders was real. His campaign was real progressive and liberalism on economic issues. He spoke a lot about economic issues and the rich, the top 1% owning the majority of the assets in America. His campaign was based on economic issues and equality for the middle and working class. Obama's campaign was based on change, hope, and unifying all races, creed, and color. Donald Trump, whether you agree with it or not, had Make America Great Again, was speaking about bringing everything back to America, making America the top country in the world. Even though it's already the top country in the world, but making America more prosperous. Whether you agree with it or not, at least he had a vision. Bernie Sanders, Obama, and Trump, even Bush to a certain extent, had vision for America. Ronald Reagan definitely had vision for America, even though I don't agree with all his policies. But agree or not, these people had policies. Had not only policies, but they had vision, a campaign slogan, and a vision for America. Something that Kamala Harris don't have. Her campaign is built on is a stack of cards. You could assume as you huff and puff, you can blow that shit down like the big bad wolf did to the little piggies. But yeah, that's how weak her campaign is. Because it shows that her campaign has no foundation, but just her being a black woman. Not to mention the fact, and not only that, not to mention the fact you can't even label her as a progressive because she locked up 1,500 to 1,900 black men, black people in California when she was prosecutor because as a result of marijuana violations. So that's definitely not a progressive policy. And you can't say she's a moderate because she wanted to ban fracking. She wanted to eliminate private health insurance. She wants to defund ICE, which is probably why she let 11, 12 million undocumented migrants to the country. So you can't say she's a moderate either. So those are very extreme positions. But this was back in 2019. But now her campaign trying to walk it back now. Now she's running for president. But you can't fool the people. Because like I said, you can't fool the progressives, you can't fool the moderates, and the conservatives is definitely not on board. So nobody knows what Kamala Harris is because she don't have a foundation, because she don't stand on anything. She don't have any type of policies or theme to stand on. No type of policy she's standing on, which is probably why the campaign tried to avoid talking about policy, but now they have to because Trump poked holes in her whole foundation of identity politics in her campaign two weeks ago. But anyway, that's my 2 cents, and that concludes my video. And you like this video, hit like and subscribe and leave a comment. Okay, I'll catch y'all later. Peace.